and calling them toxic as if her fans, because KTV is a Caitlin Clark fan. She's my favorite basketball player to watch, male or female. Point blank, period. Now she's calling us toxic for saying the obvious about the sabotage that was going on in this league and how this woman has been targeted since before she even stepped foot in it, all while Stephanie White wants to ignore the facts of what the other players in this league have done, from disrespecting fans, starting fake racial.
Okay, be prepared for this, because the things that came out of Stephanie White's mouth have created huge shockwaves, instantly throwing the WNBA into a storm of confusion. She did not just make a small comment. She directly called fans toxic. A bold, clear statement that many people quickly assumed was meant for Caitlin Clark's extremely loyal and growing fan base. And let me say, that set off a massive wave of anger across social media and the whole basketball world. This was not an accidental mistake or a random slip. No, it seemed like a purposeful, intentional message. And now, fans are strongly demanding answers. Even more, they are loudly pushing for her immediate removal from her coaching job with the Indiana Fever. The entire league is shaken by this, trying to understand how a coach could so openly upset the very fans, the dedicated supporters who are clearly helping fuel its huge and historic rise. The surprising and truly shocking attack on the same fanbase that has helped push the WNBA into national attention has sent powerful shockwaves through every part of women's professional basketball, creating a major storm of controversy that simply cannot be ignored. Now
ignore the facts of what the other players in this league have done, from disrespecting fans, starting fake racial investigations, going on platform. I'm gonna give you the facts that Stephanie White wanted to leave out. This is nasty work. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification, and hype the video. Let's get right into things on a Sunday. Let's get into it. So, we had this article here. Obviously, Stephanie White was recently on Sue Bird's podcast, where she
kind of. Now, it's important to see that this is not just a random moment that appeared without warning. No, this is clearly the result of a long and steady pattern of behavior. For months before this, Stephanie White had been openly and repeatedly minimizing Caitlin Clark's huge importance to the team and the league, often saying very directly that Kelsey Mitchell was, in her mind, the team's main focus. This idea, as you can imagine, clashed strongly and obviously with the clear truth that Clark's arrival almost single-handedly changed not only the Fever's reputation but the league's entire viewership, pushing it to record-breaking heights. Many people close to the situation quietly say that White was eventually pushed and, let's be honest, pressured to finally admit Clark's central and crucial role. It seemed less like a true, sincere recognition and more like a reluctant step, a rushed effort to manage growing frustration. You see, the tension has been building under the surface for far too long, simply waiting for the right spark. And now, with this newest and incredibly careless insult toward the fan base, it has clearly risen into a real and undeniable crisis.
Paige Bueckers did too, but they don't need to be a part of the Caitlin Clark conversation. Caitlin Clark is the reason for the boom in the WNBA, point blank, period. It's not because of no Angel Reese. It's not because of no Paige Bueckers. They were some of the lowest. They had some of the lowest attendance for their games throughout the entire season. So I don't know why they keep trying to lump them in with Caitlin Clark, but whatever. It's hard to imagine the WNBA players would get vastly increased salaries they're going to receive as part of a ratified CBA, or at least their salaries wouldn't have increased to the same degree. Now, we know they wouldn't be asking for all this money if it wasn't for...
So, where did these controversial comments actually come from? The transcript shows that White's remarks started during an appearance she made on Bird's Eye View podcast, a fairly well-known platform, while she was supposedly talking about the WNBA's huge and sudden rise in popularity. The same growth we already mentioned, she said, and I quote, "I like to change the toxicity around our league." Now, at first, just hearing that statement alone, it sounds like a reasonable and even admirable goal, right? Who would not want to reduce toxicity? But here is the important difference. The full context of her words, along with the quick and strong reactions from fans, created a very different and much more troubling picture. Fans who paid close attention to what was really happening quickly saw through what they saw as a thinly hidden criticism. They understood almost immediately that her use of the word toxicity conveniently ignored the obvious and well-documented actions and behaviors of certain players, and even the league's own organizational problems. Instead of dealing with those real internal issues, she seemed to be simply shifting blame fully and completely onto the passionate supporters who honestly just dared to speak up and share their opinions.
Now, you are ignoring the things that the players have done. These players have gone on. Arike Agumbawale was on ESPN during Caitlin Clark's rookie year, calling out fans saying, "We don't want you." We had people like Ryan Howard go at a post-game podium and disrespect A'ja Wilson fans because they showed up and cheered for A'ja Wilson at an Atlanta Dream game that was a home game for the Atlanta Dream. And she gets mad that people are cheering for A'ja Wilson at an Atlanta Dream game. So now hard-working fans.
And the hypocrisy in all of this, according to many observers and fans, is truly overwhelming. While Stephanie White was out publicly criticizing toxic fans with such certainty, she noticeably and very conveniently overlooked a long list of player actions that have clearly added fuel to negativity and controversy in the league for quite a while. We are not talking about small disagreements here. We are talking about very public moments where players openly disrespected fans, where shocking claims of fake racial investigations were launched, and where loud arguments and rivalries played out across different social media platforms for everyone to witness. These were not quiet rumors drifting around the locker room. No, these were major, undeniable events that directly and significantly helped create an already tense and often uncomfortable environment surrounding the league. Yet, very clearly, these same actions seem to completely avoid White's public criticism, raising serious and reasonable questions about her real intentions and what she is actually trying to achieve. The double standard here, my friends, is not just obvious, it is truly impossible for anyone with a fair and honest viewpoint to overlook.
To go to a basketball game can't cheer for who they want to cheer for. So she's mad that she was disrespecting fans for cheering for A'ja Wilson, but in the same breath, we had Kalia Copper of the Phoenix Mercury get mad and call out fans for booing DeWanna Bonner, who left the Indiana Fever, who was on the opposing Phoenix Mercury team when they went to play in Indiana. So fans can't cheer for an A'ja Wilson on a road game, but they also can't boo an opposing player coming into their arena.
What? So now this raises the important question. What exactly can fans do? Or even better, what have fans already done? Let's briefly turn back the clock to a time before Caitlin Clark ever stepped onto a WNBA court. Even in those days, the league was already filled with internal politics and growing frustrations. We saw players like Angel Ree openly talking about and even supporting the idea of playing only in alternative leagues, such as the widely discussed Unrivaled League. This was, without question, a very clear and deliberate criticism of the WNBA's current system and its perceived weaknesses. Then, not long after, we watch players like Satu Sabali making bold remarks, publicly insisting, "Pay us what you owe us," even wearing protest shirts during the very visible All-Star break. These were not small complaints. These were clear, very public signals of major issues already present within the player community itself, and honestly, within the league's overall structure. And all of this took place before the so-called toxic fans, many now associated with Caitlin Clark, even started expressing their frustrations. When you view the entire situation, the popular story of fan-created chaos is not simply flawed. It is truly and strongly a misrepresentation of the truth.
Wilson on a road game, but they also can't boo an opposing player coming into their arena. What can fans do? We've seen all types of fans be called racist. Black fans of Caitlin Clark, like myself, be called the raccoons, all types of stuff. These people come at the fans all the time. The players, you never address the things that these players have done to contribute to any negativity around the league. You never do that. It took Nafisa Collier getting taken out.
No, let's get straight to the point. The WNBA's recent and truly remarkable rise in popularity is largely, if not almost entirely, the result of Caitlin Clark's incredible pull. This is not opinion. It is a clear and measurable fact. Yet even with this obvious truth, steady and very transparent attempts are still made to lessen her impact. How? By loosely grouping in other well-known players like Angel Ree and Paige Bueckers, even though their teams continue struggling with some of the lowest attendance numbers in the whole league. This repeated and almost strategic effort to downplay Clark's transformative influence even while the league and its teams rely on her huge appeal to sell tickets and raise ratings, is a major and understandable source of frustration for fans. It becomes a bitter experience for people who watch their favorite players' contributions minimized while others seem eager to ride her coattails and enjoy her spotlight. This ongoing dynamic, without any real justification, directly fuels the very sense of toxicity that Stephanie White now chooses to criticize so strongly.
About fans. The organization, there's been organizations such as the Indiana Fever who lied and hid injuries about Caitlin Clark the whole time, all while using her to sell tickets and saying she's game to game and day to day for months at a time. You don't think that contributed? See, you guys want to make this just about the fans, and I've watched all of these players go out and disrespect fans, all while trying to use the money and the fandom that Caitlin Clark has brought in to capitalize and to make money off of. What are we talking about here?
And here's where the financial reality becomes completely impossible to ignore. The WNBA's sudden and extraordinary rise in popularity, driven mainly, if not almost entirely, by Caitlin Clark, is directly responsible for the much higher salaries that players are now set to receive under the new collective bargaining agreement. Let me be absolutely clear. Without her, these major, life-changing pay raises would almost certainly never have appeared at this scale, if they appeared at all. This is a plain, undeniable truth. And yet, it is a truth that many players and coaches in the league seem strangely hesitant, even unwilling to accept. This creates a huge and deeply concerning divide between the people who now benefit financially, the players and coaches, and the real force behind that financial rise. The new and engaged fan base Clark brought in, to then turn around and criticize, or even attack, the very fans who made all of this possible, who gave their time, money, and passion, feels like nothing less than an intentional slap in the face.
Oh, the fans are making this No. We are calling it like we see it. It's that simple. If you want to call out the toxicity, call out everything around the board. Call out the people that started fake racial investigate. Call out all of it. Call out all of it. Don't just try to make it about Caitlin Clark fans. And this is why I believe Stephanie White needs to be fired. And I stand on that. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you think. This is Keep the Vision. Make sure you like.
The controversy exploded even further when fans began pointing to clear, serious examples of player disrespect that somehow never received a single word of criticism from White. Take this. For example, Rakuna Williams of the Las Vegas Aces went on ESPN during Clark's rookie year and openly said on national TV, "We don't want you." That was a direct and openly hostile message aimed at new fans, many of whom were following the league because of Clark. This kind of blatant hostility from players toward a growing and excited fan base is exactly the sort of toxicity Stephanie White should have addressed, not ignored. Instead, she chose to direct her criticism at the very supporters who simply want to enjoy the sport and support their favorite athletes. The hypocrisy is shocking. Then there was Ryan Howard of the Atlanta Dream, who publicly disrespected Ja Wilson's fans for doing nothing more than cheering for their favorite star during a Dream home game. Think about that. Fans who spent their hard-earned money to attend a professional event were basically told they couldn't cheer for who they liked. This wasn't a small, forgettable moment. It was a bold example of what many saw as player entitlement and a total disregard for paying customers, the foundation of any professional league. Behavior like this directly creates a negative, unwelcoming atmosphere. Yet White stayed completely silent about these player actions while eagerly criticizing the fans. The double standards continued with Kalani Brown of the Phoenix when the Phoenix Mercury came to town. The situation grew even more confusing. When Dejounte Carrington, a former Indiana Fever player, returned to Indianapolis with her new team, fans naturally booed her, something completely normal in sports. But Kalani Brown then publicly criticized the fans for doing this. So let's get this straight. Fans can't cheer for an opposing star like a Ja Wilson during a road game, and they also can't boo a former player who left their team. What exactly are fans allowed to do without immediately being labeled toxic or disrespectful? This kind of contradictory and frankly arrogant gatekeeping from players only creates more tension, frustration, and division within the WNBA community. And this issue goes far beyond a few moments of player-fan conflict. It becomes even more troubling. Black fans of Caitlin Clark, including the content creator who first revealed White's comments, have faced disgusting attacks, even being called racial slurs by certain people within the WNBA player circle. This targeted and deeply offensive behavior, coming from inside the league, exposes a much darker and more harmful type of toxicity that Stephanie White and others seem all too willing to ignore. It's shocking that fans who simply support a player end up facing such hateful and racialized abuse from the very athletes they admire. message repeatedly pushed by parts of the WNBA and certain players is that fans are the problem. But the facts tell a different story. It was the players who made Caitlin Clark the most heavily and blatantly fouled athlete in the entire league, a shocking statistic that clearly reflects the excessive and often uncalled physical treatment she received on the court. This constant aggression, much of it ignored by officials, naturally fueled fan frustration. Supporters had every right to question the officiating and the obvious targeting of a rising star. Blaming fans for reacting to unfair treatment or for pointing out clear double standards is nothing more than an attempt to shift responsibility away from where it belongs. And then there is the Indiana Fever organization itself. Under White's coaching, they were accused of hiding and downplaying Clark's injuries for months while continuing to play her to boost ticket sales and revenue. Conflicting injury reports coming from the same team left fans confused, angry, and feeling manipulated. This kind of organizational dishonesty directly added to the negativity and mistrust surrounding the league. Yet White ignored all of this while condemning so-called toxic fans. Now, consider the bigger picture. The WNBA is currently negotiating a crucial new collective bargaining agreement, with player salaries at the center of debate. The league's explosive growth, driven primarily by Caitlin Clark, is the only reason players are even in a position to fight for significantly higher pay. To publicly attack the very fans who created this new wave of power and visibility while still benefiting from their passion, attention, and money shows a stunning lack of awareness, gratitude, and long-term thinking. It is a dangerously short-sighted approach that risks alienating the golden goose that is currently producing all the league's financial momentum. The central criticism of Stephanie White's position is actually very simple. If you truly want to address toxicity in the WNBA, you must address all of it. That means calling out players who initiate false racial claims, players who disrespect fans at home games, players who mock former teammates, and players who openly dismiss new audiences and important fan groups. It also means holding organizations accountable when they hide injuries, put player health at risk, or treat star athletes like ticket-selling tools instead of valued professionals. Selective outrage aimed only at fans does nothing to solve the issue. In fact, it becomes part of the problem. The WNBA now stands at a crucial moment. The league is growing faster than ever, yet it is also dealing with intense internal tension and deep divisions. The discussion around players, teams, and rivalries, especially the ongoing dynamic between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, has clearly fueled hostility and tribal behavior online. But Stephanie White's decision to single out and blame fans does nothing to solve the real issues inside the league. In fact, it makes the divisions even worse. Instead of turning this moment of massive growth into a chance for unity, her comments have turned it into a source of resentment and pushed away the very people the WNBA needs for long-term success. Rather than creating a welcoming atmosphere, her poorly judged remarks have drawn a sharp line in the sand, sending a message to a large and passionate part of the fan base that their loyalty and enthusiasm are not valued. That is not how you build a strong, healthy league. It is how you drive away the energy, support, and passion that keep it alive. The WNBA needs unity, not more conflict, and it needs leaders, including coaches, who are willing to recognize problems on all sides, not just the ones that are convenient to point out. White's actions have clearly placed a target on the league's most loyal and fastest-growing supporters. The call for her removal is not driven by anger alone. At its core, it is about accountability. When a coach publicly undermines the league's biggest star and alienates her enormous fan base, it harms the entire organization and its future. Divisive behavior like this does not create a healthy team culture or a successful business model. Fans are demanding, and rightfully so, that the people in leadership reflect the values of fairness, transparency, and respect for everyone who contributes to the league's success, and that includes the paying audience. The word toxic, now used as a weapon against anyone who points out real problems, has become a cynical tool to silence valid criticism and avoid uncomfortable truths. Fans are not causing the issues. They are simply reflecting what they see. Unfair treatment, obvious double standards among players, and serious organizational mistakes. Ignoring these concerns by labeling them as toxic is a deliberate choice to overlook reality and continue the same harmful patterns that limit the WNBA's growth. In fact, the real toxicity may lie in the refusal to confront internal failures and the constant urge to blame others. In the end, Stephanie White's divisive comments have exposed much deeper fractures within the WNBA, forcing the league into a defining moment. Will it embrace its new, diverse, and highly engaged fan base by listening to their legitimate concerns? Or will it keep alienating them with selective blame and ignored internal issues? The future of women's professional basketball depends on this choice. The growing call for White's removal marks a major shift. Fans are no longer passive observers, but active participants demanding accountability and respect at every level of the league.